Greetings. This is going to be one of my first of, I hope, a new series that I'm going to be putting here on YouTube of my Out and About series, where I'm going to show you a little bit of some of the things that make some interesting trips that maybe you want to come along on. I had an opportunity yesterday to take one such trip. I might want to explain that this is sort of a backwards, I'm shooting this backwards. I did the trip yesterday, and today I'm shooting the introduction to the trip, so I can tell you, make a little sense of what it was I was doing yesterday. A little hard to get some of the audio on yesterday. It was very noisy, and also it was very bright outside, so it was a little hard to see exactly what I was shooting until I came home and looked at it. So anyway, a lot of you know that I'm a medieval hobbyist, and as such, I belong to some groups on Facebook associated with that hobby, and the word went out on a fiber list that it was Dodder season, D-O-D-D-E-R, Dodder, also known as Phil Dodder, also known by a lot of names. But anyway, why was it on the list? Well, because it was a very common plant used for producing medieval dyes, for particularly good on wool. So that was my interest initially, to go and get the Dodder. And I have another interest. In what would your interest be? If you're not interested in dyeing wool, you might be very interested, because Dodder has a lot of other useful properties as well, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But first I want to talk about a little bit what Dodder is. And even if you're not a dyer, you might be interested in the plant, because the plant is really kind of an interesting plant in a kind of a creepy way. It has, first of all, it is also called a, Cuscuta. I think that is the name of the family. It's related to the morning glory, and it is a totally parasitic plant. It cannot survive at all without a host plant. And the way it does it, it's found in mostly out in fields and in marshes, or along the road, or along banks. Here we found it a lot on the hillsides, out in the canyons and things. It's hated in most places. It's hated because once it establishes itself, it really can't. It's very hard to get rid of without really literally burning out your crop. It loves things like clover and alfalfa, and so, or potatoes, or things like that, and it establishes itself in the field, it can completely wipe out the crop. It doesn't actually kill the crop, but it keeps your crop from producing. Because, like I said, it saps all of the energy out of the plant. The seeds will survive for up to 8 years in the ground, and they're very hard to find. They're very tiny, and they just look like a little piece of dirt, so it's really hard to kind of find the seeds once they're there. And they will sprout like a normal seed and send a shoot up from the ground. And as soon as the shoot gets tall enough that it can locate a host plant, it grabs a hold of the host plant and winds itself around, always widdershins, always counterclockwise direction, very, very, very tight, until it will actually become a part of the stem. It sends out little fingers into the plant. I think they're called Hostoria they're called. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong down below, Hostoria, or I'll put the word up on the screen in case you're interested. Anyway, that actually protrude, go inside the host plant, the stem of the host, to take the nutrients from the plant. Once it establishes on the host that way, all the roots have died underneath. There's nothing connecting the plant to the ground, and you'll be able to see that in the video that we shot yesterday. It just looks like it's laying on top of the plant. It's not actually laying on it, it's actually very much entwined on it. Okay? It has no leaves, there's no green on it, it cannot make chlorophyll, so therefore it cannot produce its own food. So the only way it can survive again is on the host plant. And it's really kind of creepy. Once it has its way with that host, or something happens to the host, if the host dies because it cannot take any more of the Dodder, it will just find a neighboring plant plant and move along, and pretty soon you get a whole neighborhood of this stuff. It just spreads. It's really very kind of creepy. Okay? This might be a good time to start filming because we're just going down the street here, and we can see the mountains in front of us. The mountains are just a few miles inland from the beach here. So this is known as Saddleback Valley here where we live. And a lot of mountain ranges. How many mountain ranges are out here? Little mountain ranges?
Don't know.
Little tiny ones called everything.
7 or 8.
Anyway, 7 or 8. And we're going to an area that we like to drive through on the way to go to pick up our supplies for our chickens up at the feed store, which is known as the Canyon, San Diego Canyon, which is the amazing part about living here is that you're really very much in the city, and then you just go down the street a ways and you're very much not in the city. So it's sort of a cool contrasting thing. Okay, here you can get a pretty good idea of where it is we're going. The further up this road we go, this is El Toro Road, the further we go away from the coast, further inland we go, we get closer to the mountains and to our destination of Santiago Canyon, which is a very rural area just down the road a few miles from the city of Lake Forest. You see a lot of green. This is something that's very special to us this spring because we've had a lot of rain this winter, a lot of rain by our standards, not by probably yours, but by our standards, quite a lot of rain. So things are nice and green. And a lot of wildflowers in bloom out in the canyon. And along the roads here in the unincorporated areas where they do not irrigate. Yeah.
Dodder.
Oh, we saw some. Okay, yeah, we're searching for Dodder today, field Dodder. And we first saw it about a week ago when we went up to get some chicken feed, and we were going to come back and get it then, but my husband got sick, unfortunately, and we had to wait a week. We were out again yesterday at the feed store and saw a lot of it was starting to fade, the color, and we're interested in the brightest Dodder that we can get. We can see some of it on the hill over there. Every once in a while we'll see patches of orange or yellow, and that's actually what we're looking for. You can see some here on the right, on the hill here. We're not going to stop, but we'll get some of this. I can't hardly see it, I don't think. But lots of, here's some wild mustard in here. Okay, here we're really starting to see how remote some of these areas are out here. Again, we're just a few miles from downtown Lake Forest, very much of a city.
10 minutes from where we started.
Yeah, 10 minutes from where we started. This is how people say it's very crowded. Everyone likes to spread the rumors how crowded it is in Southern California. Well, not really. Not unless it's like 90 degrees Sunday afternoon, you're trying to get a primo parking place next to the beach, then it's a little crowded. But... oh, here we see it a lot up on the hill here. A lot of that orange that you see up on the hill. That's what we're looking for. Of course, we're not going to venture up into hill areas or things because of snakes. A lot of snakes. Remember some of these places that we can get to. Okay. How far are we from Cook's Corners? Okay. We're going to actually turn up a different route than we went yesterday up here. To see if another place which we think it might, we haven't seen yet, just to see what the sources for the Dodder are. Oh yeah, Cook's Corners. You can see we're getting very close. Cook's Corners is a very famous hangout for motorcycles. There's usually quite a few.
Quite a few right now.
Quite a few parked. We can maybe
75 right now.
And it's what time? It's 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and this is a bar.
Look at the bikes.
Look at the bikes.
75 bikes or so.
Yeah.
Place is jumping.
It's jumping. It's hopping. We're going to be finding a lot. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off because I want to look for the Dodder. Anyway, we're going to be probably battling some bicyclists and some motorcyclists today out here. It's a really popular place to ride on the weekend. I'll be back. I'm just turning the camera back on because this is so pretty through here. We're really out in the thick of it, so to speak. A lot of little horse places out here, a lot of little homes tucked in. Oh, we used to know somebody that lived down here, didn't we?
Yep. Who?
David somebody.
David Hen?
Yeah. Anyway, we saw some back on the hill back there, but now we're on a very narrow road. Oh, there's some up on the hill. I don't think we can get that.
Get a good picture.
There was
going by.
Yeah, bright flashing orange up on the hill.
Orange up on the hill there.
There we go. I don't know if I saw it or not.
That's a good look.
You know, the problem is, once you get up close to it, you don't see it as well. It looks more brown than orange.
Yeah, trucks behind me. If I get a chance,
Okay, there's
if I get a chance, I'm going to let them go by.
Okay.
If there's a place.
All right. Yeah, we're going slower than he wants us to go, the guy behind us, because we're looking for stuff.
And the locals drive these roads.
Okay, now this is Joe. Oh, here we go. Here's a monastery. What does that say?
Ooh.
Oh, it's a Ramakrishna monastery. Oh, interesting. You would never know what's out here. Okay, so there you go. If you want to find out, there it is. I think we need to get more in the sunny area. Of course, it does need water. It needs some water. This would be more moisture in here. I understand that the more brighter colors, the more water it's had, the thicker the stem and the brighter the colors. I'm not sure if that's true, but we'll find out. There's some way up on the hill, so we can't go up there. All right. Another what?
Yeah, it's going 60 miles an hour.
Some of these people live out here, so they want to get home or whatever.
I love driving these roads fast.
Yeah. These look like the roads that we used to drive on when we were in Pennsylvania, but we haven't been doing that too often. Just some of our camping events, we find ourselves in areas like this. Okay, well, unless we're going to see some hills, we might want to go back to...
Okay.
we can go the other way at the fork, or we can go back.
Find a fork or
Okay.
something to turn around.
All right. Okay, it turns out that we had to come back to Cook's Corners and go the other way out into the canyon on this side. The Dodder that we found out there was pretty nice, but there was no place to pull off the road to collect it, so it was really inaccessible. So we're heading out. This is the way that we went, going out towards the feed store. So we're gonna give this a go. Hopefully it's still good, viable Dodder after a few more days. We're having a lot of winds. I don't know if you can hear me. There's a lot of winds today. Santa Ana wind's blowing. It's wind coming in over the desert instead of over the ocean this week, and it's hot wind and dry and very gusty. So hope it doesn't blow us away out here. So be back in a few minutes with Dodder, hopefully. There's a good bit of it up here. A nice big thing of it. I don't know if we can get to it. Behind this. This appears to be like a rosemary.
What?
Smells like it's rosemary.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. See that behind there? I don't know if we can get that. Where did you get your cutters?
In the pocket.
Okay, can you get up in there to get it?
Go back.
Don't fall.
Show my good side.
I'll try not to get that angle in. I can't, the sun is so bright I don't even know if I can see it in here. Just start pulling it with your fingers. There we go. That's nice and orange. Here, put some in the bag and you can use your hands.
Better if I just lift it up.
Yeah. There we go. You can talk because I have the camera running.
Oh, hi. I forget about that.
Cars are whipping past us wondering what we're doing here. Okay, here we have quite a lot of it sitting here right close to the road. We're gonna get it. There's a lot behind us too. Right behind you, Joe, there's a bunch. Right behind you. It's really red. See it?
Yeah.
Right behind you. Do you see that? I'm gonna just... I have to keep my door closed so he can walk past the door. Do you want me to hold that bag?
We'll see. Yeah.
Let me hold the bag. Okay. See if I can get it. Careful you don't fall. Okay, this looks to be a little lighter in color, is it?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit lighter. It's starting to lose its color a little bit, but it'll still work. And it seems to be on the same kind of a hose. It's so bright out here I can hardly see what's on my screen. But here you can see it laying. We'll get a closer look when we get home. It looks like you got the hang of how to pick it.
So,
It's actually twined around the hose plant. I will show you when we get back to the house, or maybe up on the other part of the road, how it is attached. It's so bright here, I'm having trouble seeing the camera lens, so I'm not sure what you can see.
we've got a few sticks in here that have it wrapped around.
Yeah, really tightly. Interesting enough, what happens is the seed, very tiny seeds, they start out with roots and shoot up like any other plant, but once the shoot identifies a host, it will wrap itself there. Oh, be careful, Joe. That's pretty high, Joe. There's places down right to your left that is bright. It's nice and bright, and it looks closer to the road. Yeah. Once the host is identified, can you reach it or not? Don't risk yourself. Just forget it. Joe, forget it. It's too hard. Joe, don't risk yourself to get it. It's okay. We don't want you falling down the hill. No city out here. Just a couple of ranches from here and there. We passed where is that winery we're going to?
That's Silverado.
Oh, okay.
I think we see it.
We might see it if we go by. Anyway, pretty remote out here, but very popular area because Like I said before, the bicyclists like to ride out here, the motorcycles. And people do live down here tucked away. This is a very beautiful time of the year for us because usually in the summer this is very brown. So we don't get any rain in the summer months. Oh, here we are coming up. Here's the plant place, and then coming up, I think after that is that where we saw it, isn't it?
I don't remember.
There's a ranch. Coming up on the left is that ranch. Is that it?
No, it was further back and I didn't see it. We just came in.
No, I don't think so. I think we.
Here's the one.
Okay, this is a ranch and winery. Horses and wine. Cowboys and wine. I think that's what makes a California cowboy. They drink wine. Very lovely place. Much closer here to our home. This is really right on the edge of Lake Forest here. Right across the road from Saddleback Church. And you can see quite a lot of the Dodder. If I just maybe span across, I hope you can see it. Again, it's very bright. It's hard for me to see what I'm filming. But you can see it looks like it's just laying on top. When we get back home, I'm going to show you what it's actually doing. Because it's not actually just laying on top. And let's see if I can hold the bag and you can get some. Be careful. A little closer to the road here. This is really nice and bright colored. This area probably gets a little more water than
Feels like it.
what?
Feels like
It feels a little moister, so that will affect the color a little bit. There's really a lot of beautiful wildflowers in here. I wish I could take some time to identify them, but because there might be something else I'm interested in here. Again, I don't have any idea if you can even see what Joe is doing. Do you want me to hold the bag up?
Good.
We're trying to collect in a bag. It might be easier in a basket or something, but it's so windy we didn't want to risk it. It would just blow away.
Yeah, not today.
Beautiful warm day. He said before that he found it easier to just lift it off from the top, right?
Yep. It seems to just kind of peel off.
Just kind of peel off.
Can't get up higher.
Okay.
Get up some here.
Boy, there's a lot. Oh, look, here's some down here closer to the road. Here we go. I think you can see it if you can hear me say that this Dodder now has no connection to the ground. I started to say earlier that the seeds, once the seeds germinate and sends up a shoot, the shoot grows until it can locate a host, and then it immediately wraps itself around the stem of the host very tightly. Interestingly, it always is wrapped widdershins, always wrapped counterclockwise. And once it wraps itself around the host, the roots of the Dodder die. And therefore there's no connection to the ground anymore. The only connection the Dodder has now is to the host plant. And we'll look at it a little closer when we get inside. Be able to see. Maybe you can see here if I zoom in here. Here you can see it's really wrapped very tightly around. Very, very tightly around, and it wraps so tight. It wraps so tightly that it actually sends like little fingers piercing into the stem of the plant to suck out the nutrients of the plant. That's how it stays alive. As you notice, there are no leaves on this plant. There's nothing green on the Dodder itself, no green cannot make its own chlorophyll, so therefore it cannot feed itself. The only way it can eat is off of the host plant. It doesn't actually kill the host, because if it killed the host, it would kill itself, but it pretty much smothers it, sapping all of the nutrients out of that plant, so that that plant cannot survive really on its own anymore. It's very weak and the growth is stunted. Eventually it will die. But by that time, the daughter will have found another host nearby. The seeds are very prolific. The seeds will live 8 years, up to 8 years. So once this gets into the crops, this is a very dangerous plant. But out here, of course, these are just wild. Joe, please be careful where you are because of snakes. That's a beautiful color there. Nice and bright. The cars going past are wondering, what are those old people doing? What are they doing? Can you see what kind of a plant that is on? Is it a different kind, or is it still on the same kind? Yeah, it loves the, of course, the leafy plants that it hooks onto would have a lot of, able to make a lot of food for it, because they would be able to manufacture a lot of chlorophyll, which is, of course, what feeds plants. So, it loves alfalfa, it loves clover, loves potatoes, it can wipe out a potato crop, it loves, it's a member of the morning glory family, interestingly. Do you want the bag? Oh, where's that? A butterfly saying, give me some of that. I can't.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful color.
This is soft and a lot more moist than something in canyon.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
it does. When we get home, we're going to pick all the green out
Really
of it.
pretty.
Just have that. Our goal is to get a couple pounds of this, if we can, because here's some beautiful, what are these, black-eyed Susans? I don't know. This is a little lighter in color. It's starting to dry out. This over here is drier, right?
Yeah,
It feels good. It looks a little drier. Again, that looks like a rosemary. It's like a wild rosemary that is attached to. It's really very pretty. It's so lovely. It's so fun to see these kind of little patches of wild in our city here. Or they're just left to go. The native plants, one thing that we're getting really good at here in California is using native plants, allowing native plants to protect the hillsides from erosion when we do get the rain. We have some issues with rain when we do get it, destroying the hills and things. So we're getting very good. They're getting very smart at allowing these native plants, wild plants, to thrive and grow. We get all these little ecosystems tucked right here in the corner of the city, which is so lovely. Okay, we're home now, and I've got the Dodder out of the bag, and as you can see, what I'm doing now is just pulling. There's some leaves that have been trapped in the Dodder that I want to try to pull out, because I'm going to use this as a dye, and I don't want green, I want yellow. Now some Dodder does give yellow dye, but oh, you can see it's really wrapped around here. It's just a real, can you see this part here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as you can see, this is something that came off of the plant. Very, the fingers, it's very, very tightly wrapped around there so that it really even becomes a part of the plant. It's like growing almost out of the plant. So,
They have to cut that?
I'm gonna just pull. Do you see that? It just really gets in there. Let's hope there's no seeds in there. I'm gonna be not very popular in this neighborhood.
Yeah, you're in this house.
No, I don't think we don't see any seeds yet. Just looking for big, really big leaves. I mean, some of it's not gonna hurt, but any big leaves like this, I wanna try to get out of it. And this was the last bit that we got just on the outskirts of town here, and it's really quite wet. Consider we haven't had any rain for how long, so it's wet from the moisture it's taken out of the plant. Is that correct?
I would think.
Okay, really stuck in here though. You might hear my chicks in the background. Chicky chick chick chicks. Chicky chicks. Maybe we can get them on camera tomorrow. Okay. So anyway, I'm afraid what I'm grabbing because we found a dead something in here earlier. What was that? A dead...
Yeah, it was a little mosquito. And it was dead.
Okay, so this one's pretty good. I don't think I need to...
You're right back there. Stick.
Okay, well the stick that says brown, that's not gonna hurt. It's the green is really gonna give off a dye, because you know you can make a dye. There's something called a, what do they call it? Cram pot. I think it's called cram pot. Where you literally just cram as much stuff of one color when you go out and, like if you want yellow, you go and grab as many yellow flowers as you can and cram them into a pot and cover them with water and boil it away and see if you get any. Okay, now here we got flowers. These flowers, though, are not Dodder flowers. I'm happy to say, because that would be seeds, and then we would be having some
Trouble,
problems.
and not to mention violating ordinances. Probably.
Yes, we probably would. But these are flowers from the host plant. Okay. So I don't think we need to show. Well, I have, this is going to be a small pot, and then I'm going to put a larger pot. I'm going to just cover these with water tonight. And then in the morning, sometime tomorrow, I'll put fire under the pot. And I will, then we're going to let this simmer for a long time. Try to get the color. It's always fun when you use natural, when you're using natural dyes, what color you're going to come up with. I was interested to see, before I put this away, how, I guess they are all short because of where you pull them off. We don't really get any really long pieces.
Well, I think some
Kinda.
6 inches or so is probably,
Kind of hard.
because they were just kind of peeling off.
Okay. Okay, so we'll be back with this later and we'll cook it up. Okay. Here we see, this is just a simple example of how long, it's just these very, very fine. Can you see how fine the threads are? They don't look very strong at all. And I'm very interested in that, how strong the plant actually is, because as somebody who spins fiber, the idea of when you spin fiber is you take something that's very, very thin and not able to hold anything. You know, you take something that's not strong, something very weak, a very weak, thin strand, and you spin it and it becomes strong, okay? And this is just a very weak, I can break it very easily, but yet it has the strength to wrap itself so tightly around the stem that it is really hard. Can you see Finn underneath the table? Finn, Kenny, Finn. It can wrap itself so strong that it's really difficult to get it off of the stem. And here we see it's coming from this direction, and it always is, of course, counterclockwise. And here we see a very long piece of stem that there is actually no leaves left on that stem. Okay. The leaves have actually died really and fallen off because all of the nutrients have been taken from those leaves. Okay. I was a little concerned when I saw the flowers. I hope we were not getting seed. These are not flowers from the Dodder. These are flowers from the host plant. But the seeds of this it will produce flowers eventually, a little white bell-shaped flower, I think it is. But it's very, very delicate shell on it and very easy to break open into it and for the seed to spill. That's another reason it's so dangerous. And they don't really want to mess with it if it's in a field somewhere for fear that it's going to just spread seeds everywhere. So once it flowers, you're really, really screwed, I guess. Okay, so this is an example. It looks, you know, kind of like, oh, you could get that off pretty easy. I don't have the magnifier to really show how it's going inside the stem. But here you can see it just wraps itself so tightly. Maybe one of these is a little better example. It just really becomes a part of that stem. It's hard to tell what is the stem and what is not the stem. Okay. Kind of interesting. Okay, so today, well, actually yesterday when we came home, we sorted through the bag of Dodder and pulled out a bit of green because the first use that I'm going to use the Dodder, the half of the Dodder, is that of a dye. And it's going to make me a really lovely yellow dye. If you recall one of my earlier videos, I was prepping some wool. I think I was carding some wool to take to an event where we were doing a spinning, sort of a spinning marathon. And I have about a mile of wool that I spun. And I'm going to use some of the dye hopefully on that, so you might be interested in seeing that. But also, I'm going to use it for some other things. First of all, Dodder is one of the in a category of plants that was used for dyeing. That was also they found to be have a lot of really good health properties in it. It was very good for a lot of treating a lot of medical conditions, and for hundreds of years they have been using it. Chinese doctors have always used it for things treating all kinds of conditions, and in recent years Western doctors of course are getting into using more natural remedies, and Dodder has a lot of properties, a lot of antioxidant properties, a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. It's good for the liver and the kidneys and all kinds of sexual dysfunction and fertility issues and lots of things. Well, I'm not going to use it for that. That is the seed that is usually used. The seed, and again we said I don't want anything to do with the seeds. I don't want to be responsible for spreading Dodder all over the place. That'd be done. The professionals handle that. But other than the dyeing, you can imagine. Let's just think a minute how interesting this plant is, that it spins and it has so much control. It has so much power. And as witches, oh, we're really interested in that, aren't we? So you can imagine it has always been thought of as having a lot of magical properties as well. It was used very often for divination. It was also used especially with relationships. You could probably find a lot of that information online if you wanted. Also, it was used because of the properties of it having these big long threads and big long cords. It was used a lot in cord magic or not magic, if you know anything about that. I'm actually going to do a follow-up video on that. After I get my dye made, I'm going to be using the Dodder. I have saved some of the Dodder for some magical use, of course, as well. So I'm going to have a follow-up video that's going to tell you that. But, you know, I wanted to point out that, you know, earlier in history, when people came across this plant, they were amazed at how it grew and grew and grew when they could not see it having any connection to the ground. So that just adds to the whole idea, the whole concept that, oh, what a magical plant it must be that it can grow without even connecting to the ground like other plants. Not, of course, understanding at that time the science of what it was actually doing. Now we know what it's actually doing and how it is actually growing, but it's still pretty magical. It's a very powerful plant. It's very hard to get rid of and very powerful. So I'm going to use it, I hope, for some really powerful magic things. So stay tuned for that as well. And I'm also going to show you today, the Dodder has been soaking all night in water. We cleaned it out, got rid of everything, all the matter that was not the Dodder itself, because we want to get a pure dye as we can. And it was soaking all night, and today I'm going to set it on the fire and have it, you know, try to extract as much of the color as I can. So I'll do a little follow-up video and show you then when I'm actually dyeing the wool, if you're interested, what color it actually produces. And then I will show you what I'm doing with the Dodder itself for my own magical uses for my cupboard. Okay? So I hope this was a little bit interesting to some of you. I don't know if you're interested or not, but it was sure fun to shoot. It was beautiful weather for us to go out and about and had a good time with it. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for coming to my channel. As always, I wish you blessings. I'm Rebecca.